Also, I'm supposed to do soft speaking. I keep forgetting to do soft speaking. I'm more used to doing whispering, but I like doing soft speaking for soft spoken ASMR for this series. But there we go. There are people, around 15% of American people, who do not believe climate change in any capacity exists. There are people who believe also that maybe climate change does exist, but it doesn't have any human or man-made origins. And there are people who believe, some of it's from humans, but still most of it, or much of it, is from nature. I remember, even back in 9th grade geography class, we had talked about climate change. We had discussed that. We only talked about it briefly throughout my whole school career, and it was only in 9th grade geography class. And I remember that there's quite a bit of people who didn't believe it existed at all. Like around, I think, the statistic was 42% of my class didn't believe that climate change existed at all, or that it was predominantly due to just natural causes, not man-made. Now, in that class, we talked about all the different reasons that science points to man-made causes of furthering climate change, while also taking into account the natural causes. Off the top of my head, I can't say specifically what all of the natural causes are, but just natural processes, that have caused the earth to be this way. Natural cycles. But then when you get to, what is it, the main cause? Is it the main cause or second main cause of, science says the main cause of climate change rapidly, like the climate rapidly changing, leading to climate change, is because of farming, meat production. So think of like cows specifically, other animals as well, but I know that there's specifically an emphasis on cows and how much farming and factory farming, especially as it relates to cows, to beef, is leading to an increase in global temperatures, not just in one area of the world, it's globally, right? And also we have to think about fossil fuels, and we have to think about oil production. But anyway, back to my class. There was one person who I was like friendly with, we were friends, whatever, I guess you could say, and he very much disagreed with any man-made origins. And even me back in 9th grade, with the limited knowledge I had, was very confused by that. And the other like 42% of class who had like similar sentiment to him, where it's like, how do you think that the emissions specifically from humans are not contributing to climate change? And now I also know that, first of all, for context, I grew up in North Dakota, so now looking back, I'm actually not surprised by that. If anything, it could have been more than 50%. North Dakota is one of the most conservative states in the United States. And a lot of conservative people, right-leaning people, do believe that either climate change does not exist, or that it's not predominantly man-made, or that it's equal to natural-made causes that are contributing to climate change. And I just remember thinking back then that was so strange, based off of what we were taught in class, that people still were going against what the teacher was saying, or instead thinking the opposite of, I guess, what I was thinking. I didn't think about it too much at that point in time. Now, I live in Minnesota, where last year it was even worse, where we barely got any snow, but this year we've gotten snow. I'm filming this the day before, so Tuesday, my time, Tuesday. I'm looking outside today and yesterday. It's warm enough so that the snow is melting. I can see grass. It's not all completely melted, but I can see grass. that is not normal. That is not normal for Minnesota, for the snow to melt when it's almost February. And for it to be warm enough for it to, like, it's in the 40s today. The highest temps are in the 40s. And while I technically would prefer that, I also morally don't. Like, me as Brittney, I would like warmer weather. But for me to know that the warmer weather is because of climate change, that makes me very sad. The past couple years, the rising, oh sorry, that was a weird, I did a weird, like, little, it was like connected to, did you hear that, like, noise was connected to my nose and my throat? That was weird. Anyway, don't know how to explain it. I was looking at right there, it says what the temperature is in here and the humidity. It is 72.8 degrees Fahrenheit in here and 46% relative humidity. Relative, right? That takes into account, like, humidity outside and the temperatures and all that. I wish it had the dew point on there, though. Dew point is important for me, for my health issues. Anyway, speaking of health issues, the fluctuating temperatures messes with me too. It's like my body doesn't know what to do. But the rising temperatures in the oceans is causing a lot of marine life to die, and they don't know what to do. Like marine life, animal life in general, because of the rising land temperatures and ocean temperatures, river lake temperatures, is causing animals to die, plant life to die. Species are thinking that's a certain time of year until they come out of hibernation, or they think it's a good time to lay their eggs, and then a frost comes over again, and then those eggs die. You know, it's affecting even, like, chocolate, where chocolate is predominantly, I think it's around 70% plus, 70 to 80% of cacao is cultivated in Western Africa, and it is affecting the production of chocolate that is cultivated in these Western countries in Africa. And because of that, there's likely going to be an increase. That's the thing. With climate change, it causes an increase in prices as well, because there's things that are going to be not able to be produced. Like, regular everyday farmers are going to have to struggle with their produce being affected. Like, working so hard for a year cycle, many farmers. And then they have less or no crops to be able to even give to markets to sell. Animals, factory farming, or even ethical farming. It affects the animals. The climate change affects the animals. So then farmers in that sense are also affected. And it makes you think, why are people climate change deniers? And predominantly it's people who are conservative. At least I can speak from people who are American, people who are right-leaning, or people who are conservative. And first of all, I think a lot of it is due to misinformation. Okay, I think also people feel guilty that they could be contributing to this, so I think people would like to think, oh, it's not me. It can't be me. I can't be contributing to anything like this. It can't be me. It's never me. So therefore, if I say it's not me, it's not me. Because if you say humans are contributing to it, I can't be a part of that. I'm not part of anything like that. So I'm going to say no. And just overall brainwashing. A lot of right-wing politicians, I'm not saying there aren't any left-leaning politicians in America, but a lot of right-leaning politicians have money or are able to have access to more money because people like Fox News are able to provide them with more money and opportunities financially. Okay, we have Trump as president, we have Elon Musk, who's basically a second president. and they are some of the wealthiest people in America. Elon Musk, is he considered the wealthiest person in the world right now, or at least in America? And these people have so much money. I know there's also people who are believing, like everyday people believe these people, because like these people are successful, they have so much money, so I believe them. And they're saying climate change isn't real, or if it's real, it's not because of man-made causes. Okay, which is so weird because Elon is the head of Tesla, which supposedly is supposed to be good for energy, clean, ethical energy. But yet now there's a focus on, even though he's promoting Tesla, he's the head of Tesla, also, I don't know specifically him, but people in his inner conservative circle are saying, okay, but oil companies. And I have to say something. People are saying that protesters want for everything in the oil industry, like fossil fuel industry, to go away like that. We aren't saying it has to go away overnight, but it has to be gradual enough, because the main thing is that people have jobs, right? People have jobs, and this is also something that's readily available and it's cheaper. So I think it's not just on everyday people, right? There needs to be something put in place for the government to help people be more ethical and sustainable. We can't just rely on everyday people who cannot even afford their everyday lives, their everyday rent, their groceries, childcare, education for themselves or their children. So that's why I think it's also hard for people, like everyday people like you and me, to be like, well, I can't do anything about it. But, I lived in North Dakota where there was a big oil boom in the western part of the state, and a lot of people from all over went and started working in the oil industry. And that was very profitable also for North Dakota, so I understand it can be profitable, and that's a thing I also want to talk about now. Oil, like there's people who come from big money from having oil rigs from their land, having oil extracted from their land. And so people who are in that position are like, well, I want to keep getting money, or I want generationally for my children to keep getting this money. And so if we keep up with the oil industry, we keep allowing this to happen, there will be more money for the people at the top. But what about the everyday people? There are people who work in the oil industry. I think there should be a way for more. By the way, Trump is getting rid of wind energy. He's taking down a lot of plants for that. Why? Over time, wind energy has become more affordable, actually, and it's very long-term able to work for energy. But what was I saying? Taking away from solar energy and wind energy and other ethical sources, like even water, like hydro energy, like water-related energy, it's going to reverse so much progress. I don't know why people are so afraid of science and things being helpful, even if it means like looking at ourselves and being like, hey, this isn't good what we're doing. Even if there's people making a lot of money right now in certain industries, like the oil industry, fossil fuel. Like, we have to focus on other ways, like over time, finding ways to, especially the government helping out in this, finding ways to have these resources be helpful for everyone and be more affordable and accessible for people. There are certain parts of the country and of course the world who are very advanced in this sector of life, but this will be very helpful I talk about this because it's more helpful to combat climate change. We can't just say everybody should go vegan right now. We're gonna get rid of the meat industry, although I think there should be more ethical farming. And how can we allow that to happen, right? I think there are ways. And should I bring that up? No, I'll bring that up a different time. There's something else I was going to bring up that was kind of related, but it involves government spending. But at the rate we're going, like other countries are doing better, but other countries also will do better if America does better. That's just a fact. A lot of countries mimic what America's doing, which is why it's so scary what's going on right now. I can't imagine what climate change is going to be like continuously. It's been rapidly getting worse and worse and worse. Also, I think overpopulation is part of the issue, but it's a whole different thing. I have thoughts about that are unpopular, I feel. But also, I want to talk about, what was I going to say? Oh, there are people, like, for example, who work in the oil industry. I think over many, many years, we could move away from oil industry and have workers be educated and working in these other fields, and we can help them. We can provide education for people who want, like, for free from the oil industry, moving over to these other very important industries. So I think there are people who think, okay, maybe climate change does exist, but we can't afford to change things. Like, it provides money, it provides resources for people, it's cheap, it's accessible. While I understand the fate of our planet is in our hands, like, oh god, look at what's going on in America right now. Like, there are places, climate change isn't just about things getting warmer, it's also about places that never get snow getting snow. In Florida, in Texas, in Georgia. I know in Texas they sometimes will, but in Florida, dude, really? You're gonna tell me that's normal for these southern states? In New Orleans, like, literally getting blizzards? Oh, it just makes me so sad. It's not normal. And you can't only just blame this on natural causes. There's no way. Oh, it just makes me so sad. I know people are scared to face the truth sometimes, but, like, we gotta be able to face the truth for progress to happen. I'm so sad about the climate change that's happening. And it's affecting everybody, not just the United States, it affects the whole world. And then also we're focusing on, like, Elon wants to build life on other planets. What about this? Look at this planet. Like, what's happening? There's so much going on that's causing climate change, okay? It is just very upsetting hearing about people say that climate change doesn't exist when and people can say that, but then what about future generations? They're gonna have to clean up after our mess. They're gonna be so upset. It's always like in politics, it's like generation after generation, it feels like people have to clean up the mess, but then it feels like there's not enough happening. There's not enough. There should be, like, education on these issues that all politicians should go through about, like, okay, here's how it naturally happens, here's how, like, scientifically a lot of climate change is caused by man-made issues. And also, so how can we slow that down? How can we slow that down? Obviously using less public, or using more public transportation, less of your own vehicles, that would be nice, right? But we have to think about things like higher up too, not just like what me and you every day can do. What can people higher up do legally? But now Trump is getting rid of clean energy sources that are so important. Yes, some, like solar energy, for example, is still more expensive, but I think it could get to a point where it's more readily available, more accessible, and cheaper if we put more money into that. Okay. And I think it would be better. It would be better for the earth. Using the elements: water, air, /wind. I was gonna say fire. Wait, what? And the earth. Wait, what was I gonna say? What was I even just talking about? Oh my god, I don't know. I just get so frazzled about all this. There's so many thoughts I have going in my head, but I'm gonna end the video there. Maybe it's good that I forgot, or else I'll just keep going. I'm gonna end the video there. If you're from a different country, let me know what you think about this. If you have certain measures in your country that are trying to combat climate change, let me know if there's anything you've done personally to try to combat climate change as much as you can. Just let me know what you think about what's going on in America right now. If you're not in America, pray for us or manifest for us. Send good vibes. We need it. Oh my gosh. Pray for, send good vibes for the people affected by all the climate crises going on right now. And the fires in California are still affecting people. the blizzards that people have never experienced, even snow. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I could keep going on and on. Love you all. Bye.